Kelsie Tillage has had to overcome a reading delay, speech impediment, and ADHD, but of course, none of this stopped her. Her experiences motivated her to become a teen writing coach. She also galvanized her school to donate over 1,700 books to the Center of Literacy. I am pleased to introduce this week's young hero. Kelsie Tillage is an A student, a tutor, and a published author. With all of her accomplishments, it's hard to imagine that this reality seemed impossible at one point.
When she scanned the page, you read from left to right. She was reading up, down, sideways, backwards, and it wasn't dyslexia. So it was kind of really hard to pinpoint, but she was not reading.
So as ironic as it is, while I do have a good memory, I didn't know I had like a problem. It was never like known an issue, probably until I was old enough to understand it, that hey, I'm reading behind, or hey, I can't do this.
She was also struggling to speak. Her mom says the vocabulary was there, the words just wouldn't come.
Like I said, it was just more of an enunciation sometimes. We wouldn't hear it, wouldn't quite understand it. She would get words mixed up.
Kelsie's teachers were worried that she'd never catch up.
When she was 5 years old, they wanted to hold her back. And that's when I was like, okay, the light bulb went off my head, like, Mom, you gotta activate.
At the time, Kelsie's parents didn't know it, but she was struggling with ADHD. For some kids with this disorder, speaking and articulation can be a struggle. Reading is also difficult because the child can't focus on the page. That's what it was like for Kelsie.
From my perspective, it was like, I think more so with the ADHD, it was kind of hard just to stay focused on one thing. Like I would kind of pay attention, then I would look off to the side, or I look at this, and back in my head, I'm thinking about what I'm gonna have for breakfast or dinner, or whatever was time of the day. But that was it was always like, whenever there's a word on the page, I paid attention to everything but the word.
But this wasn't the end of the road. In fact, it was just the beginning of a years-long effort to not only learn to read, but to master it.
When they tested her at 5 years old, she was behind the scale. But then once they tested her in 5th grade, she was above the scale. And she just fell in love with reading.
It's one of the things that we fostered was, I don't care what you're reading, read. And her choice of books were just all over the spectrum. The books that I wanted her to read, she didn't want to read those. But and as long as she was reading, we were really, really excited about that because she discovered it so early, and it took her to places that normal children or children that aren't as exposed and aren't reading, shouldn't say normal, that they don't get that opportunity to expand outside of their environment.
Kelsie's parents were able to improve her reading with years of practice. But with that came a love of literature that would follow her for the rest of her life. She tutors elementary school students who struggle with reading. It's personal for her.
Tutoring the kids has started gradually as I was like younger. Like teachers would be like, oh, Kelsie, help such and such. Hey, Kelsie, can you do this, this, and that? Because I was so far ahead of the curve that I would already know this stuff, and I was able to kind of teach it and reiterate back. I think the only person I can't teach is my little brother.
She runs book drives. She's pushed her school to donate more than 1,700 books to the Center of Literacy. She's also earned the Gold Medal Congressional Award from the U.S. Congress. And if that weren't enough to convince you of Kelsie's dedication to literature, she's also a published author.
It's the Unpopular Opinions Anthology, because we all have something to say. You can find it on Amazon. I have a disdain for cancel culture just because I feel like they always cancel the wrong people. It could be someone could have like a very valid point, but just because they don't agree with you necessarily, then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, they're the enemy.
Her book is a series of essays written by students expressing themselves and their opinions.
And I feel like in my generation, we just don't open our minds anymore up. We're so very headstrong, which is a good thing, but at the same time, it also has drawbacks.
Her life is just beginning. She's got college to look forward to. And her major, of course, has something to do with reading and research.
But I did do a research study on Black women and how generational trauma affects how they view their body now. And it kind of falls under the realm of what anthropology is, just like the study of people, and more so my specific section is cultural anthropology, not archaeology.
Of everything Kelsie's done, and of all the things she will do, her parents say they're the proudest of her character.
One of the things that just always brings me extreme joy is when I see my daughter walk through the school, and the little kids, they run up to her and they're hugging her, but not only that she takes time, but she knows her name. Everyone's like, hi, Kelsie, and she's like, hi, and she kind of goes back like that. So that's one of the things really thoughtful. I went to this school, so I know what it's like to be a senior and not to want to be annoyed by kids and what have you, but you just don't see that with her. It's just giving, caring, and thoughtful child. That would be what I would really want to get out. Everything else, you know, it's on display, her intelligence, with rewards and giving back. But the main thing that I really, really want to get across is the fact that she is just loving and giving.
Same sentiments as my husband. Like, she's very authentic, and I think that through this whole venture that has really captured a lot of attention, that she's very authentic to everything that she has experienced.
This was our last young hero for this year, and I can't say enough how amazing it is to meet these kids one-on-one and talk about what drives them to succeed.
Absolutely fantastic. All of us at LPB certainly wishes them the absolute best.